Hello everyone, welcome to Legal Darshan. In today's video, we are going to discuss Sutherland's differential association theory and Akers social learning theory. Okay, now before we move ahead, I'll just give you a recall of the theory we discussed yesterday, which was the psychoanalytic theory by Sigmund Freud. Okay, now basically we have stepped into understanding causation of crime, right? Now, when we study causation of crime, we study it by two types. Okay, one is individual centric causation that focuses on the individual, that why individual is committing crime. Okay, so if my id and my superego is an imbalance, I am doing a crime, it is my own id and superego. So that kind of theory is individual centric theory of crime causation, whereas another theory is society centric theory, okay, that analyzes that if there is any contribution that society is doing in causation of crime and why the crimes are being caused. All right, so when we look at society centric theory, sociological school comes out as one of the examples, one of the elements of societal learning of crime, of society centric causation of crime that we are going to understand in this particular lecture. Okay, now coming to Sutherland. But before we go to Sutherland, there is one person we need to go back to, who is Gabriel de Tarde. Okay, so Gabriel de Tarde is a sociologist, also a jurist, criminologist who is contributing to the thought. And he says he rejects the positivist approach, okay, the approach that is taken by Italian school Lombroso and his peers, saying that it is the genome, it is inherent trait that makes a person criminal. Gabriel de Tarde, he rejects the argument, giving the criticism that no, it's not just the person who is a born criminal that is adding to crime, happening of crime. It's not merely just a biological reason, but there lies social reasons, societal reasons as well, as to why a person becomes a criminal. So Gabriel de Tarde says that it is the learning, okay, it is the learning within society that also influences crime. And based on the thought of Gabriel de Tarde, Sutherland and Akers are building the work. Okay, so Gabriel de Tarde sets the foundation of sociological school, and it is carried forward by Sutherland, and then it is built upon the Sutherland's idea by Aker, okay, Ronald Aker. Now we come back to sociological school, and we are starting with the Sutherland's thought, Sutherland's theory of crime causation. And his theory of crime causation is known as differential association theory. Okay, it is known as differential association theory. Okay, he is also known as the he is also he is a sociologist primarily, and he rejected biological and psychological explanations of crime. That's what we were just discussing, that there is no person born criminal. He rejects that contention, because then the argument flows that if you take atavistic stigmata that we were discussing earlier, how do you call how do you call that, how do you say that society is not adding to crime and it's just the atavistic stigmata which is making a person born criminal and he's committing a crime. Okay, and his main thought, one thought that we are going to study throughout Sutherland, is that criminal behavior is learned. He strictly says that criminal behavior is learned, and how it is learned, it is described in the next 9 principles that we are going to do. Also, he is one of the people who coined the term white collar crimes that we often study in the form of money laundering, in the form of Prevention of Corruption Act, etc. Now coming to the 9 principles of differential association theory. Okay, so now before we go to the 9 principle, Sutherland divides the people, okay, the society into 2 compartments. He says that there are 2 kind of people, 2 kind of groups of people, one who is crime favoring and another who are against crime. Okay, so there is a group of people who want to abide by the laws, who are, crime against the crime. Okay, so ordinary citizens who are afraid of punishments, who are afraid of the law. What if something wrong happens to us? Those are the people who are against crime. Okay, and there are people who are, crime favoring, or who are okay that crime is happening. They are also some way contributing to crime. For example, a gang of robbers, it is crime favoring, but there are people living in a civil society saying that crime should not happen. Those people are against crime. So Sutherland is basically bifurcating society into two kind of groups. One is crime favoring, and another is crime which is against the crime. Okay, now yeah, now these are the 9 principles. Okay, so these are the, just pardon me, these are the 9 principles of Sutherland. When we are studying Sutherland, we need to keep this distinction in mind. Okay, so the first point that Sutherland says is criminal behavior is learned. Okay, it is not inherited, it is not psychologically present in a person, but rather it is learned. How it is learned? It is learned. We are just highlighting the keywords. Okay, yeah, it is learned. Criminal behavior is learned. And then how is it learned? It is learned through interaction with others. Okay, so for example, there are two groups. One is the group that gambles. There are two sets of friend I have. One is the group that gambles, and another is a group who they are just studious group. They are pursuing higher education, they are studying, they are into studies, they are into good work and all. Okay, so now it depends on my interaction with which group, how I interact, how much, and that they can influence me. Okay, so criminal behavior, number one, it is learned. How it is learned? It is learned through interaction. And how interaction happens, and what interaction? Okay, interaction which happen within intimate personal groups. Okay, so I'm highlighting, we are first understanding, the first principle is telling me criminal behavior is learned. How learned? It is learned with interaction with others. Interaction with whom? Because there are hundred of people we interact with every day. So interaction with the intimate personal groups. Okay, so you may talk to a lot of people, but there cannot be every person falling in your intimate close group. Okay, right? So my intimate circle could be my family, my best friends from my school time, my friends from my childhood, or so, right? So intimate personal groups and the interaction that you do with it, that helps you, or that progresses with how criminal behavior is learned. Then what is included in that learning? Okay, so criminal behavior is learned in two stages. Okay, one is motive, that why would you do a crime? Okay, and another is technique, how do you do a crime? Motive includes why, so you learn why also by your interaction. And technique is how will you do crime, how will you do the crime? Okay, so now basically, how do you decide you are learning the motive? Let's say there is a friend of mine, okay, who is into, let's say there is a friend and who operates some illegal business. Okay, who is dealing with some kind of illegal activity, maybe gambling, which the government is forbidding. Now he invests 1,000 rupees, and because of the market, he gets back 10,000 rupees. Okay, and now what he does, he goes out in a fancy dining and have a dinner, and then also persuades me that I am earning 10,000 rupees every day just by putting 1,000 rupees. You should do it as well. Okay, but all of this activity is illegal. And I know I should not be doing it. So now I see these 10,000 rupees. Okay, that, oh my God, he's getting 10,000 rupees every day. And he's safe, there is no punishment, he is doing it through maybe hidden networks or anything. Okay, so the money lures me, this becomes my motive. Okay, this becomes my motive, that okay, I want to earn like how that person is earning, and I learned that I can also, if he's earning, I can also earn. So my motive to do a crime is learned by my interaction, okay, within the intimate personal group. Now how do I achieve these 10,000 rupees is the technique. Maybe I will not use my real name, maybe I will use a fake name, or maybe I will do some kind of forging and etc. That is the technique of how, I will reach the motive, how I will reach 10,000 rupees. So the learning includes motive, learning transpires motive to do crime as well, and learning transpires you to learn technique as well. Okay, how will you do that particular act to achieve your motive? Both are the part of criminal learning according to Sutherland. Okay, now, it is based on definitions favorable or unfavorable to law. How do I succeed in, earning these 10,000 rupees, which my friend is also earning? This is defined by the fifth point, because I found that, he has a loophole. So he is using a VPN, which might not be of India. Okay, so there are websites which take you to VPNs, and, you cannot be tracked. There are nodings. We all discuss this in cyber law, right? So there are nodes, internodes, and where the internet connectivity flows. So maybe he is not using an Indian VPN, maybe he's using a foreign VPN, and I also follow that. So that is, when my VPN cannot be traced, I cannot be traced for any illegal activity I am doing on the internet. So that definition becomes favorable for me to do the crime. Okay, so if you are able to find that much of loopholes in the law, and the definition supports occurring of crime, you may do crime more frequently. That's also what Sutherland is saying here. Okay, so if the law gives you such kind of loopholes that you can do the crime and you can escape, that means that you can also easily go into law. That's what Sutherland is saying. Okay, so let's say I did a crime, and I am also, left. I'm not prosecuted. Maybe the case got closed. Maybe there is some influence, etc. That also gives me the definition of law which favors happening of crime, and I might be lured into crime. But how I'm learning all of it? I'm learning all of it, by seeing my peers, by seeing what is happening, by seeing within my intimate group. Okay. Then next is crime occurs with an excess of favorable definitions. So when there is an excess of favorable definitions of law that favors happening of crime, crime favoring definitions, then crime will happen. Okay, something we were just discussing with the fifth point. Okay. Now, Sutherland is saying that your association may vary by frequency, duration, priority, and intensity. How you interact with your peer group, that might, give an edge to your association. Now, principle 8th and 9th were added later on. Initially, the theory only had 7 principles. Then the 2 more principles were added later on. 8th principle says that how do you learn criminal behavior? Okay. Sutherland says it is a learning which is just a normal learning. Okay, it is same mechanism of learning as you use to learn anything. So for example, if I want to learn law, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to observe, I'm going to read judgments, I'm going to look at videos, I'm going to follow the statutes, etc. Similarly, Sutherland says one learn to do crime in the similar manner. Okay, similar manner as you will learn any other thing. So what I'll do, I'll observe my intimate group. I will observe what kind of consequences are happening, what kind of events are happening, and then I will, learn the act of doing crime. Then the ninth thing is motive alone don't explain crime, learning patterns do. Okay, now Sutherland is emphasizing, because a lot of theories were coming in that people might do crimes because they are poor, people might do crimes because their socio-economic conditions support, so remand, so not support. So Sutherland is saying that if, let's say, there are two people, X and Y, both have the problem of poverty. Okay, X does not have food to eat, Y also does not have food to eat. So what X do, X goes to the farm, do the farming and earn some food. Whereas what Y does, Y resort to crime, Y resort to gambling, and then ultimately he is caught by the police. Okay, now Sutherland is saying that both of them had the demands of eating, of having sufficient food to eat. But when X is choosing an honest way to do so, why can't Y choose it? Because he learned that way to earn the food. Okay, so Sutherland here is saying that of course general needs define your requirement, or your um, maybe your maybe your motivation to do the crime, but that is not the reason. It does not justify you doing the crime. Okay, because there are other people out there who are achieving the same objectives but not resorting to crime. So he is saying that it depends on the learning. Again, we come back to the two groups. If you know you have learned being in the group which is not against crime, then you will resort to crime. Learning is influencing. But if you are in the group which is against crime, then you will not do such an act and you will live a life, crime free life, or you will not resort to such mechanisms. Now we can also see the application of Sutherland theory in India. Number one, juvenile delinquency. A lot of episodes happen. Why juvenile resort to crime is because they see their intimate groups, they see their friends doing so, and then they do so. Then there is a concept in Indian law. Okay, when we study penalization, when we study penology, we separate hardened criminals from soft criminals. Okay, so a kid who has just done the offense first time will not be kept in the jail with hardened criminals, because differential association, if he is going to be associated with a hardened criminal, he will learn the motive and technique to do the crime. That is one objective. Then we have things like probation. Okay, kids often, juveniles, they are left aside on probation, on on surety, on admonition under Probation of Offenders Act, as well as under Juvenile Justice Act or CRPC, right? So also when children are doing petty offenses under Juvenile Justice Act, they are released on just sureties, on just assurances, or maybe just admonition. Also when they are doing serious offenses, they are kept in observation homes, they are kept in not prisons but homes. But when a person is hardened, he might be kept with a hardened criminal, because we are applying differential association here, that if you keep a soft criminal with a hardened criminal, there is a tendency he might resort to being a hardened criminal as well. Okay, so in youth also, drugs use, because passing each other drugs, doing cyber crimes, this becomes an example of differential association, because your peers are doing so and you are lured into it. The example I gave of cyber crime, that I am using some other VPN and doing something illegal, is because of course I am associating with somebody who is already doing it, right? Now coming to the criticism of Sutherland. Okay, what Sutherland says. Sutherland criticism of Sutherland is, pardon me, that he is overlooking entirely personality and individual psychology. He's only focusing that criminal behavior is learned, and he is also assuming that everybody is learning through another, that everyone is learning, and criminal behavior is only learned. It is not a response to anything happening. So let's say if I am attacked by some goons on the road. All right, I'm attacked. And if I am exercising defense, and in exercising that defense, I resort to violence more than needed, then how is it that I have learned it? It's just I was protecting myself. Okay. So he is assuming that it is only passive learning, but rather it could be an accidental response or an immediate response to threat as well, which is not planned, which is not learned. Then he also does not explain that how crime originates. He's just saying that if you are with the people who are favoring crime, then you will become a criminal. Okay, then you will resort to crime. He's not explaining the reason that why I would join a particular kind of association, why I would interact with the people who are committing crime. So he is not giving an explanation that why people fit in compartments. One is which favors crime, and one is which is against crime. So he is just compartmentalizing society in two compartments, one entirely favoring crime, another entirely against crime, and he's saying everyone fits in either of the two. Okay, so he is basically also inconsiderate of structural social inequalities as well, and he fails to acknowledge why a person primarily chooses either of the two distinct groups. Okay, so because when I am choosing a crime, a society that favors crime, or a society that against crime, it also has somewhat to do with my behavior or my psychological upbringing, right? So he is not taking that in the account when it comes to the criticism, right? Now, based on the Sutherland's theory, is the next theory that we are going to discuss. It is, yeah, It is the Akers theory, Ronald Akers theory, which expands Sutherland's theory. He says that social learning, differential association is one of the factors that is related with position of crime. But he adds three more reasons. One is definitions, modeling, and reinforcement. Okay, so definition is basically my attitude, that how, how do I see crime, how do I, my moral grounds see crime. All right, so now Akers we will be doing in the next part of this discussion. All right, we have understood Sutherland, and we have understood that Ronald Akers is, building upon Sutherland's model. So that is something we are going to look into the next part of this particular video, which will be updated soon in just a while after we are done with this video. Okay, so with to study Aker, please stay tuned with us on Legal Darshan. There is going to be a part two to sociological school, sociological thought of social learning, and then we will move to social disintegration theory as well. And then we will be discussing the concept of anomie and strain, which will further lead us to the economic theories, the Marxist theories, and the radical thought of criminology. All right. Thank you for staying. Please stay tuned with Legal Darshan. Have a great day.